Hey everybody, it's Comedex, and welcome back to another ranked draft of Guilds of Ravnica. Let's go ahead and jump right in and see if we can get anything good in our first pack here. So our rare is not something great. Risk factor is really going to only work if we're in a pretty aggressive deck. I mean, it is mono-colored though, so it doesn't tie us down too hard. I think there are some other pretty strong contenders in this pack though for first picks. We've got Deadly Visit, which is fantastic removal. 5 mana to destroy any creature and Surveil 2. Watcher in the Mist, which is a nice, thick, evasive body. Gets out there, lets you Surveil 2, and starts poking your opponent or blocking their early game aggro. Chemist's Insight can just draw you a bunch of cards. Swarm Guildmage is a multicolored card, but I have been liking it a lot lately. And that's probably it for the most exciting stuff. There's like a Piston Fist, which is okay. Pitiless Gorgon's okay. So I think it's going to be between Deadly Visit and like maybe the Risk Factor. I'm probably just going to take Deadly Visit here, but Risk Factor might actually be alright. It just seems a little weird to me to be that aggro in draft, but I guess Boros is pretty good. Either way, I am going to take Deadly Visit here. I think it's just by far the safest pick. That's just a card that's always just going to be consistently good in any draft format ever. Alright, so pack 2, we do have a Mausoleum Secrets as our rare, which is a card that I don't own any copies of, one of the few cards in the set that I have 0 of, and I do want to have at least one of everything for Brawl, so this might be one of those rare draft moments. It is pretty bad in Limited, though. The only real usage for it is if you happen to get a black creature card that is, well, just a black card, period, that is, like, a really strong bomb, and you plan on having enough creatures in your graveyard to hit its converted mana cost. So say you have, like, an Azoni, maybe this is mildly okay, but even then you can't even search for your Azoni until you have 6 creatures in your grave, so it's just a very, very specific card that's probably not very playable in Limited. However, I do really need it for my collection, and that is a big reason that I like to draft these sets near the end of their draft cycle. At the start, I do like to try to stay just with all of the best picks, but here at the end, as they've added Guilds of Ravnica on again, I'm just trying to make sure that I get everything I need from the set while I still can draft it before Eldraine pops up. So Necrotic Wound is probably going to be the pick here. This actually isn't, it looks like a 1-mana instant speed removal spell. It looks like a really cheap removal spell. But this card doesn't actually do anything until later in the game. But at the same time, it's still a good card. It's still a removal spell. It still does cost 1 mana, so you can, like on turn 5 or 6, you could play a 4-drop or a 5-drop and save 1 mana up to be able to Necrotic Wound something for like -2/-2. So it is a pretty good card, even if it isn't as fast as it looks, since it does look like just a little 1-mana removal spell. But it is a much later game card than it appears to be. That's what I'm trying to say there. So, nothing good in black here, but I do like Rhizome Lurcher a lot, and that could move us into Golgari here. There are also other good green cards here, like there's a Golgari Guildgate, and a Rhizome Lurcher, and a Vigor Sporeworm, and a Circuitous Root. That's like a decent signal. I mean, we're only on pick 4, but that's like several decent cards for Golgari, Undercity Uprising as well, and nothing in Dimir for this pack, so I think it's probably safe to just take a Golgari card here, and we'll see if we keep getting more Golgari cards, or if Dimir suddenly opens up instead. But based on that pack alone, it looks like Golgari's probably more open. Here I like taking Hired Poisoner, because Hired Poisoner is a card that's going to work well regardless of if we end up in Dimir or Golgari, because if we're in Dimir, this just drops out there and it helps us kill off some early creature to keep us alive, and if it's in Golgari, then it just trades off early to fuel our multiple Undergrowth cards that we're trying to hit. So I like taking Hired Poisoner here over something like Undercity Uprising or one of these random green cards, because I think the only color that we're most likely to play is black, as all of our cards are black. So Hired Poisoner it shall be. And now we do have a Swarm Guildmage, which is a card I like quite a bit. It's also a 2-drop. Rhizome Lurcher does have really good potential late game. Usually when you play this thing early game, it's only like a 3/3 or 4/4, but the fact that it's like a 4-mana 3/3 or 4/4, like on curve, is a fine card, and then it's just potential to be actually a good top deck late game is what makes it so strong. Is the fact that if you play this on turn 4, it's a fine card, it's what you need, but also if you just randomly draw it on like turn 15, it could just show up as a 6/6 or 7/7 or something. That's what I like so much about the card. It works early, and it gives you a huge payoff late game. So that being said, I think we are much more likely to be able to pick up multiple Rhizome Lurchers later in the drafts than Swarm Guildmages. And I like Swarm Guildmages because they can fill out our curve at the 2-drop slot. There aren't a lot of really good 2-mana creatures that I'm super wanting to play in the set. There's a lot of like 1-mana and 3-mana stuff in Golgari, like Hired Poisoners, and then like the 3-mana 1/2 that draws a card when it comes into play. Those are cards I like to fill my Golgari decks. At 2-mana, we only really have Burglar Rat as my favorite 2-drop, and then Swarm Guildmages. So I'm going to pick up the Swarm Guildmage. It's another versatile card, comes out as a 2-mana 2/2. It can trade early if we need to fuel our Undergrowth, and if it doesn't, it gives us a lot of extra stuff to do with our mana later. We can gain some life to get back into the game, or we can end the game by giving all our creatures +1/+0 and Menace, which is deceptively strong, even with 1 or 2 other creatures. And there's a Glowspore Shaman, so maybe my recent experience with Golgari has been pretty skewed based on what I got in my last Golgari draft, but I completely forgot Glowspore Shaman was a thing, so it looks like we actually are going to be picking up some good 2-drops here. Iron Shell Beetle is really not great. Generous Stray is the 3-mana card I was talking about. These are fine in your Golgari decks or your Selesnya decks. You can just pick them up late. They help with Selesnya because they help you Convoke, and they help with Golgari because they chump block, and then you've got Undergrowth. But I don't think any of these random Golgari stuffs are as good as Glowspore Shaman. This is a pretty late Dimir Informant, but I think that we are enough solidified into Golgari here that I'm going to just keep going with the Golgari cards. Alright, and I'm glad I did that, because it definitely looks like Golgari is more open than Dimir, even though we saw that Dimir Informant. Gonna take one of the 3-drops here, because the 2-drop and the 4-drop are both very basic. 2-mana 2/2 basically, and a 4-mana 4/3, whereas the 3-drops are more interesting. Erstwhile Trooper... Erstwhile Trooper can be really good if you have a lot of pump spells. I did have a draft in which I got Bounty of Might, which gives +3/+3 3 times. And with Erstwhile Trooper, you could then just give Erstwhile Trooper Trample. I have ended a game with that before, and that was fantastic. But other than that, it's usually going to feel pretty bad if you have to discard a creature to get that extra damage through. But it can allow you to have your creatures like trade up into something better. Like if I attack with this thing and then they block with a 3/3, I could discard a Hired Poisoner, and then basically I'm having like my 1-mana creature trade up to their 3/3. But I think that's a pretty niche situation. Pitiless Gorgon is just, I feel like, more consistently good because it just drops down on the board and it blocks any non-flying creatures. I feel like I like the Gorgon better here. And perhaps we can pick up some Erstwhile Troopers later and try them out then. Wow, Golgari is really open. This is a fantastic pack. Things are going really well for me. I'm only mildly concerned that maybe someone to my left, as you pass left in the first pack, maybe one of those bots is starting to draft Golgari, so we'll get hosed in pack 2. But it's looking like in pack 3 at least, Golgari should be pretty open, because it certainly is right now. We've got another Pitiless Gorgon, a Burglar Rat, and a Golgari Guildgate. And I actually have no idea what I want the most here, because those are all fantastic. Pitiless Gorgon, obviously the Death Touch, just trades off with your Undergrowth and gets rid of something. Burglar Rat is good because it comes out, gets rid of one of your opponent's cards, and chump blocks something, or it's really good at blocking some Boros threats, like 3/1s and stuff like that, like Blade Instructors. So, I like all three of these cards quite a bit. Golgari Guildgate, I didn't say anything about it, but it's very obvious what Guildgate does. It just helps make sure your mana is perfect. Haven't played a lot of Burglar Rats recently. Maybe I want to pick up that Burglar Rat just to play with them. Yeah, let's play with the Burglar Rat friends. Not a fantastic pack here. We can take an Urban Utopia if I want to have the ability to splash into some off-color bombs if I randomly see some, or I could just take like a Wild Ceratok as just a filler creature if we don't get enough like really good stuff. I'm just going to go with the Ceratok here, just stick with what I'm doing so far. Here I'll go with the Crawl Forgers. It's a big old little creature there. And Vigor Sportworm is nice. This is a pretty good finisher in these Golgari decks. I like it a little better than Undercity Uprising, because Undercity Uprising in a deck like ours is most often just gonna trade. So it's like a 2-for-1, like you're 2-for-1ing yourself, because you're spending Undercity Uprising and one of your creatures to kill one of your opponent's creatures. Because I feel like most of the time we're just going to be sending like our Burglar Rat at something, or like a Hired Poisoner at something. So it's just going to be like sacking a little creature to kill a bigger creature, which for 4 mana isn't great when there's like a 2 mana version of that. There's Severed Strands. This card definitely can be a little stronger if you have a lot of thick creatures like Rhizome Lurchers and stuff like that, because then you could get into situations where it's basically like a Prey Upon with a little bit more upside, where you're fighting off their 4/4s or 3/3s or something with a 6/6, and you actually get to keep your creature. But right now, our creatures are all little babies, so they would die in the fight. So I'm just going to take the big boy. And now we can take an Undercity Uprising, because now it's between that and Utopia. So we could take the Uprising here. And we also have another big chonker to fight things with the Uprising at this point. Last pick, Generous Stray. That's... maybe nobody likes Generous Stray except for me, but that's fine. Ooh, that is a rare. That is one card to open. Wow, this pack is... I mean, there's only 3 cards I want here, but dang. So, Burglar Rat, obviously. I've talked about him before. Fine card. Not as good as the other 2 options here, though, which are fantastic. There's Okrane Assassin, a 3-mana 1/1 Death Touch. All creatures able to block it do so. So, basically, when you attack with this creature, you force all of their untapped creatures to block it, and you just get to pick whatever creature your opponent has that you want to kill and kill it. And it's even better. This is one of the few cards that makes me actually want to play a decent amount of pump spells in this format, because you could attack with this thing, and if they have like 3 or 4 creatures out, if you cast like a Pax Favor on it to give it +3/+3, just wipe the whole field because they all have to block it. So this card has very, very high potential. It's pretty nice, but there's also just like a bomb that can end the game in this pack. It's a 7-mana 5/7 reach, and when you cast it, reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of creatures in the graveyard, and you can put a green permanent with converted mana cost X or less from among them onto the battlefield. So even if you don't hit a green permanent, this is a pretty strong card. 7-mana 5/7 reach. That's going to be bigger than the vast majority of things that are coming out, unless you're playing against Selesnya and they have like World Soul Colossus is like the only creature I can think of that's just outclasses Hatchery Spider. Because like even the big stuff in Selesnya is like Siege Worms or 5/5 Tramples, which are 5/7 reach, just easily outclasses. Or like 4/5 Flyers, which this also outclasses. It's just like one of the biggest creatures you can play in this format. Even if you don't hit anything off of its ability, and if you do, that's just gravy. That's like 7 mana for a 5/7 reach, plus like, I don't know, a 1/4 reach or a 4/3, something like that. I think I'm going to take Hatchery Spider here. I think I just talked myself into it there. That seems Seems very large. Alright, well, some pretty spicy red cards in this pack. Beacon Bolts, Inescapable Blaze, and Legion Guildmage. However, there's no way we're playing any of those, as spicy as they are. So it's going to have to be one of these green cards. Here is the pack's favor that I was talking about that combos well with the Okrane Assassin, but we did not pick up the Okrane Assassin, and it's not very likely to wheel. So, based on what we have right now, what do we want the most? I guess since I already have 3 3-drops, I'm not super needing to pick up a Devkarn Dissident at this moment. As fine of a card as that is, I might be more interested in a Prey Upon, because now I have a 5/7, a 6/4, a 4/4, a Rhizome Lurcher. I've got some big stuff that could actually fight pretty well, and even if I don't have any of that, I can basically use this as a Bone Splinters because I have Hired Poisoner and Pitiless Gorgon. So I've got several creatures that I could fight well with, or at least Bone Splinters something with, just with Death Touch. So I think Prey Upon should be fine in this deck. Severed Strands, again, is more consistently going to kill things, but Prey Upon has higher upside if you have a creature that's actually going to survive the fight. So I'm going to take Prey Upon here. It's also mildly cheaper, and here I'm probably most interested in a Rhizome Lurcher. Lotleth Giant is cool and all, but I do already have a good 6 mana and 7 mana giant creature, and I don't want to fill my deck up with too many of those. Like, I'm definitely playing Vigor Sporeworm and Hatchery Spider, so I don't want to throw in a Lotleth Giant as well at this moment. I think I'd rather pick up another Rhizome Lurcher. Gives me another creature that fights well with Prey Upon, and just another thick creature for the mid-game, so I do like that a lot. And not really anything else to mention here. It's basically just Giant or Rhizome Lurcher. I guess you could mention Crushing Canopy. This card's actually mildly okay. I would not hate main decking this card as much as I usually hate main decking these kind of cards, because it's pretty good against Dimir. Because Dimir, if they have any of the really big, really scary Dimir threats like Thief of Sanity or Disinformation Campaign, those are like both cards that die to Crushing Canopy and both cards that just 100% kill you if you don't get rid of them. If you're playing against Boros, it can get rid of Conclave Tribunal or Pacifism, or Luminous Bonds is what it's called in this set. I think there's actually just an okay amount of targets for Crushing Canopy, and the only time you get super hosed is basically if you play against just an aggressive Boros or Selesnya deck and they're not using enchantment removal. So, you don't get hosed as often as usual, but it's still probably safest not to play a situation card like that in the main deck. But I wanted to give it a little bit of a discussion there, because I don't feel like it's as bad as usual in draft. Alright. We can just take a Severed Strands now, since we took a Prey Upon over one earlier. And then we've got the options if we want to run both, or just one of them, or whatever, because I don't think Child of Night is particularly exciting, although it probably is okay in Golgari since you just want your creatures to trade off early anyway. This maybe trades into a 3/2, and if not, at least it just chumps blocks and gets in the grave. I don't think I want Wild Ceratok. I now have 2 Rhizome Lurchers, so I'm trying to just fill up my 4 mana slot with better cards like Rhizome Lurcher, so I don't think I want another Ceratok, so just Severed Strands or Child of Night. Neither of those are insanely exciting. I'm actually just going to go with Severed Strands here. Okay. Not super exciting. Sprouting Renewal is pretty good. It's kind of like a main deckable Naturalize, because it's a 3 mana 2/2 at worst. I mean, this isn't particularly good in Golgari, just because it doesn't add to our Undergrowth count, which is unfortunate, but it is nice to have a main deckable Naturalize. Just something that can destroy a Disinformation Campaign or something like that, but also if your opponent isn't playing artifacts or enchantments, it still does something. It's still a 3 mana 2/2. Man, I am pretty disappointed though that that doesn't add to the undergrowth count because it's just a sorcery, which is actually kind of a big deal here because we're really trying to hit undergrowth for the rhizome lurchers at the very least. The rest of our undergrowth is just like a mild upside when we hit it, but we really want undergrowth for rhizome lurcher and necrotic wound. I mean, my only other options in this pack are to take a random gate, or just another not super exciting creature, like another Crawl Forgers or Child of Night. So I guess I'll take the Sprouting Renewal. But again, I'm a little more iffy on that one just because, as I said before, not adding to the undergrowth count. I definitely want to pick up some more just little burglar rats and generous stray type stuff and hired poisoner, stuff like that in pack 3 to give us more undergrowth fodder. Okay, we've got Golgari Raiders or Molder Hulk. Both of these cards really require you to have a lot of undergrowth for them to be good. So I'm a little worried on that. Probably just going to be one of those anyway. There's also Child Knight, which we've talked about a whole bunch. And Moonmark Painter. I've actually kind of won a couple games with Moonmark Painter, but I feel like most of the time this format there's actually a lot of decks with a lot of creatures where Menace doesn't matter a whole lot. Like, both Boros and Selesnya have ample opportunities to just get out a bunch of 1/1s, so they can just, like, still block a thing with Menace. I feel like this card's only at its best if you have a decent amount of just, like, random creatures with flying or something like that. Actually giving a flying creature +X+O in Menace could be really strong, but we don't have anything that has any kind of evasion right now, so this doesn't seem particularly great. Jeez, do I just go with the big dork? Golgari Raiders is just really, if you don't have the undergrowth, this does nothing. Whereas Molder Hulk, it's like worst case scenario if the game goes really long. Even if you don't have a lot of undergrowth, you can still play it. But the game has to go real long if you don't have good undergrowth going. I guess I'll take Molder Hulk. That's probably going to be one of our first cuts if we start cutting cards here. Now we can take a Dissident, get some more stuff at the 2-mana area that is looking a little bit light. We could also take a Lotleth Giant. I'm going to go with the Dissident here. And, ooh, that's a pretty late Siege Worm. And we do have, just some random 2-mana, 3-mana dorks, as you do in Golgari for undergrowth reasons. Those also work for Convoke reasons. Yeah, I'm kind of interested in a Siege Worm here. Pick up the big boy. And the Okran Assassin Wield. That is a very easy pick, because it's literally that or a Defender, and I don't really want a Defender here. The creatures that I want to block with are just like 1/1s and 1/1 Death Touchers because I want them to die. I don't really want 0-3s and 0-4s. And now we get to take another Devkarn Dissident or a Pax Favor to combo with the Okran Assassin. That's kind of a tough choice because Devkarn Dissident, we just said earlier in this pack, we are really looking for more cheap creatures to fuel our undergrowth. So that is a high pick for that reason, but also Pax Favor just for the potential of Okran Assassin is really fun. But I guess it only really has one card that it combos super well with in our deck. Other than that, it's just going to be a random combat trick to try to kill one of our opponent's creatures, so it's not like actively fueling what we're trying to do, whereas I feel like Devkarn Dissident is. So I'm going to have to go with Dissident here. Don't know if that was the greatest pick ever, but that's what I'm going to do. I'll just take a Fog. And a Ceratok can fill up the deck. And a Fog to the sideboard. Now we can go ahead and toss Molder Hulk in the sideboard because this is a 24. We're going to want 23 of these cards and 17 lands as usual. Wario Copy. Probably not getting played. I mean, 3-mana 3/2 Vigilance is not super exciting. This pack is not good for Golgari. That's for certain. Alright, what do I want to cut here? Maybe like a Hitchclaw Recluse. And... is that Just one of these Ceratoks? Maybe Undercity Uprising? Alright, so I think out of this pack, I'm the most interested in Hired Poisoner. It's just a really good card to fuel Undergrowth and trade off with early game opposing threats. So I think I'm going to go with that one. Because everything else that's good in this pack is basically just a different guild. The only good Golgari cards are Hired Poisoner and Severed Strands, so I'm going to go with Hired Poisoner here. Alright, what did we get past? Wow, we opened not fantastic. Actually, there's a Prey Upon. There's a Prey Upon, so there's that at least. Yeah, these pack 3 picks have not been particularly nice to us, as there's really only 1 or 2 cards that we even want in pick 1 and pick 2, which is basically just getting unlucky. That doesn't even mean that, like, people are drafting the cards that we want out of here, because all of the cards are still in the pack. We just didn't happen to open, like, anything in our guilds, so... I mean, Prey Upon is better than absolutely nothing, but it's a little concerning. I really like the 4th Rhizome Lurcher here, or the 3rd Rhizome Lurcher here. As good as Pilfering Imp is at fueling Undergrowth, I actually do like this card a whole lot. I really hope this wheels. Doubt it will. Anyways, as good as that is, now that we have 3 fight cards, we have double Prey Upon and an Undercity Uprising, Rhizome Lurcher is just going to be a very important card. It's basically our earliest card that we can get out there that could be a really decently sized creature to survive a bunch of fights to kill stuff, so I do really like Rhizome Lurcher here. There are multiple cards here, though, that we are totally fine wheeling. If we get a Whisper Agent, or a Pilfering Imp, or a Spinal Centipede, we really can't be that mad. But definitely out of all of those, I really hope Pilfering Imp comes back, but we'll see. Alright, another Undercity Uprising. I'm not 100% certain I even want to play the first right now, since I do have double Prey Upon. But at the same time, there is absolutely nothing else I'm super interested in playing. Mephitic Vapors sometimes can be really good, but I feel like you really have to just be Dimir and have things that give you payoffs for surveilling in the first place. Obviously in Golgari, like, we could maybe throw some creatures in our grave for Undergrowth. But in Dimir, you can actually just have cards on the field that, like, gain you life whenever you surveil and stuff like that, and then that card's definitely more main deckable. The other problem is this also kills 2 of our Hired Poisoners, a Burglar Rat, Glowspore Shaman. We actually have Okran Assassin. We have several cards that this dies to. So this is really not the deck for it, but sometimes this card is okay, because it can really hose like Boros decks with a bunch of X1s if you get pretty lucky. So, I mean, this pack's just not fantastic. I think I'm going to take another Undercity Uprising, because I also don't think I want to play 2 Hitchclaw Recluses. I already have one in the sideboard if I really want to play one. So I'm going to take Undercity Uprising. I think it's very slightly more likely that we want to play 2 Undercity Uprising. Okay, if we're just going to get a 3rd Prey Upon, I could just play 3 Prey Upon and no Undercity Uprising. That might be the play. There are other good cards that I want here, I just don't think they're as good as Prey Upon. There is Dowser of Lights and Generous Stray. Generous Stray fuels the Undergrowth, and Dowser of Lights is just a nice thick body for the mana cost. And it fights well for cards like Prey Upon, so wheeling Dowser of Lights would not be the worst here. I'm going to take Prey Upon here and cut my Undercity Uprisings, though. And what do we got now? We could take our very first Golgari Guildgate pretty late to pick up our first Guildgate, but I would not mind it. Or we can take a Generous Stray, Wild Ceratok. Just some filler-style creatures. We could take our one and only flyer, I guess. I'm going to go with the Guildgate here. Do like to pick up some mana fixing. There's a Siege Worm. Another Siege Worm. I'm not sure I'll be playing 2, but I'm definitely not playing anything else in that pack. Another Guildgate. I like that over Ceratok or Moonmark Painter, because I'm probably not playing either of those, and I'm 100% playing a second Guildgate. Pretty lucky with these Guildgates at the end here. Very late Guildgates. Now the only thing in our colors is a Fog, so I'm just going to take the off-color build Bombo creature. And we can take a plant wall, which, I mean, at the very least, you can sacrifice it for Undergrowth and draw a card, which is okay. Does fend things off in the early game. I don't think I'm playing either of these, but I might be a little bit more likely to play the wall that can sacrifice itself. I'm just going to toss it in the sideboard for now, though. I mean, when you've got two of them. Now, I think I'm more likely to play Spinal Centipede, because that does something nice when it dies, and I'm actually likely to play that over the Wary Okapi, because Okapi doesn't do anything when it dies. Crushing Canopy. I already have a Hitchclaw Recluse that I'm not playing in the first place, so probably not another one. This card can potentially fuel Undergrowth, but that is literally all that it does, so you have to spend a card to do that, so don't think it's worth playing. Even if you have a bunch of good Undergrowth, like our deck has a little bit of good Undergrowth. So, this is just another last pick shenanigans part. Alright, get Ceratok out of there, and get Torch Courier out of there. Alright! Well, this looks like a fine Golgari deck. Not like the craziest thing in the world, but it could put in some work. I'm liking all of the cards I see so far. Maybe not Sprouting Renewal. Just not fueling Undergrowth actually just hits us pretty hard. I'm probably going to end up getting hosed by some kind of artifact and enchantment and really regret that, but we'll see. I can take out a Ceratok and just roll with the Rhizomes. And then probably want to take out a little bit of these large cards. Let's see. I actually have no idea what I want to cut here. It's definitely one of the hardest parts in the draft for me personally. Is when I look at this pile, and I'm like, this looks good, but I'm going to narrow this down to 40. What do we do here? How many creatures and non-creatures is this deck? Because you do want a lot of creatures for Golgari. 19 creatures. 5 non-creatures. What are my non-creatures? Triple Prey Upon, Necrotic Wound, and Deadly Visit. I don't feel like any of those are cuttable. Maybe we can cut one Prey Upon? Oh, we have Severed Strands as well. Maybe we can cut Severed Strands in here. We have 4 creatures with Death Touch. 4 creatures with Death Touch means that 4 of our creatures work with Prey Upon exactly as they do with Severed Strands. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of our creatures probably can prey upon something without dying. Yeah, I think Prey Upon's probably better in this deck. I mean, we do also just have like a Burglar Rat and a Generous Stray, which are like the A+ targets for Severed Strands, though. Like, those are the creatures you want to sacrifice. Also known as just the creatures that suck. Maybe we want to diversify it a little bit and go 2 and 1. And just hope to draw the right ones at the right times. Like, when I really need a removal spell and I also have like a 5/5 Rhizome Lurcher out as my only creature, hope to draw Prey Upon then and not Severed Strands. And then when my only creature out is a Burglar Rat and I need to kill something, hope to draw Severed Strands and not Prey Upon. I mean, that is the Yu-Gi-Moto Heart of the Cards way to do things. I can get down with that jam. Let's take out one Siege Worm. Just make it simple. We do have a lot of big stuff. We can take out one of them. And roll like this. And hope for the best. And we have flexibility in the sideboard, even though all of the games are 1-game matches, so it's not like we're going to sideboard. But we can, in between rounds, decide to change the deck if certain things are screwing us up a lot. If we decide Prey Upon is the card that we want all of the time, we can put in the third Prey Upon, take out the Severed Strands. If we decide that we have just kept dying to artifacts and enchantments, we can toss that Sprouting Renewal in there for future matches. So, I'm fine with that. Let's get into our first round. If I had to make a guess right now how this deck will do, first of all, I have no idea, so take this with a grain of salt, but if I'm right, it's because I'm prophetic and a genius. I'm going to say this is a 4-3 deck. Alright, let's see how it do. Alright. We have 3 lands, multiple 2-drops, a 3-drop, and a removal spell. That is definitely keepable. We've got all of our colors. And some good cards. Glow Spore to fuel that undergrowth. See how this does here. We are playing against Izzet, it looks like. Goblin Electromancer is going to start things off for them. That that makes all of their instants and sorceries cost 1 less, which is pretty strong. I'm going to go ahead and toss that Golgari Guildgate on top. Next turn we can play Okran Assassin, and then on turn 4 we can play the Guildgate and Guildmage plus Poisoner, and make the most of our mana. We Dragonauts. We are definitely going to want to Deadly Visit that. Opponent does have the potential for a very explosive turn coming up here. I'm going to go ahead and attack with the Glow Spore Shaman, because I'm fine trading with either of these cards. Alright, just doing 3 to them. We'll go ahead and play the Assassin. And that will force them to attack if they want to save their Wee Dragonauts. Granted, I'm pretty sure they're going to attack anyway. With Goblin Electromancer plus Wee Dragonauts, they do have a very high potential for a very explosive turn here. They could cast multiple instants and sorceries and hit me for a lot of damage. We'll see what they've got. Oh, send in with the squad. If that's the case, I'll trade with an Electromancer. I mean, this probably means they're about to cast a creature they don't want to die to Electromancer. Alright, another Wee Dragonauts. Okay. Could have been a mild mistake there. I guess it depends on how explosive their hand is. But Goblin Electromancer does help it be more explosive, so hopefully that worked out there. And I'm actually a little bit of a fool, because I did not notice that I would need double black in order to cast Swarm Guildmage and Hired Poisoner in the same turn, so it's just not going to happen. It looks like their hand does not have a whole lot of instants and sorceries in it, as they do just keep playing creatures. However, every creature that they've played so far does benefit off of casting instants and sorceries, so that could mean they're just playing all the creatures first, and they're about to go really explosive here. I'm actually going to attack with both here, because I don't feel like I'm going to have a lot of time to be using the Guildmage's abilities, as I do have multiple 5-drops and a 6-drop in here, so the second I draw lands, I'm going to be spending all of my mana. And the fact that they did not block here is a little scary, because that does put them down to 9 life. They chose not to trade their 3-1 for my Guildmage, which means they're probably up to a explosive turn here. Might even kill me out of nowhere, we'll see. Hit me for 9. And a Fire Urchin. Alright, well, this is very bad. That is very, very bad. Severed Strands is an okay draw. So they're going to Sonic Assault again next turn. That does 2 damage to me right off the bat. I go to 4. They have a 3/1 flyer and 2 3/3 flyers. I don't see any way I can survive this. I mean, if I Severed Strands, sacrificing a 1 toughness creature to kill a Wee Dragonauts, I gain 1 life, I go to 7. Take 2 from Sonic Assault, go to 5. And then take 6 from their stuff in the air. So I guess if I save Swarm Guildmage to gain life and cast a Severed Strands this turn, then I could perhaps survive. They Sonic Assault one of my dudes, make sure I can block the Fire Urchin with the other. Oh, Fire Urchin's got Trample, though. I think I gotta save these dudes to block Fire Urchin. Okay, good. They chose to just trade off with Fire Urchin. Alright, so I don't have to worry on that front, then. We're gonna kill a Wee Dragonauts. Sacking a Hired Poisoner. Going to 7. And the reason I am killing a Wee Dragonauts instead of a Leapfrog is because Leapfrog's going to do 3. Wee Dragonauts is going to do 3 as well, for sure, because they have Sonic Assault, but it might do even more if they have something else. Granted, if it does even more right now, then I'm just dead, but, like, for future turns, Leapfrog will probably be slightly less damage overall. It is also harder to kill if we get a Prey Upon with like a 2/2 left on the board later in the game. We can kill a Leapfrog with a Prey Upon and a 2/2, but we can't kill a Wee Dragonauts with a Prey Upon and a 2/2. What are they targeting? They're targeting Hired Poisoner. Alright, get tapped. Do they have a haste creature? That would be sad. Would be a very sad way to die. Or if they just have another instant or sorcery. Okay. I'm like, that's all you had to do. I don't know why it took that long. I am dead. I guess they had to target multiple things to cast the spell. A little bit of salt there. A little bit of salt. But that's always the worst, when you're like, I wonder if I'm dead this turn, and then you sit there for like 30 seconds waiting for your opponents to cast the spells that are just like, the text on the card basically says, yup, you're dead. Alright, well, heading into the next round, see if we can do better here. I like this hand. It is pretty good against ground troops. However, if we are against Izzet again, could be a big problem. Dimir as well does happen to have a lot of flying stuff. And that is the scariest part, but we do have a Severed Strands now, along with a Generous Stray, which is basically the perfect sacrifice outlet for the Severed Strands. Are they gonna kill my Hired Poisoner? Oh, Dazzling Lights, alright. Surveil a couple cards. That is the majority of what that card does. Apparently, their top couple cards are pretty good. I think I'm going to stay aggressive here and cast the Gorgon, because it does more damage if they don't play a creature this turn. Generous Stray, it's like, if they don't play a creature, Generous Stray does very little. Let's just send in, like, I'm fine trading either of these. Alright, we're trading with the Gorgon. Now we can play Generous Stray alongside a Hired Poisoner. And if they play some more stuff, or if they just like Vapors us or something, then Rhizome Lurcher is going to be large. Dimir Informant. Good thing our stuff has Death Touch, otherwise that would wall us off very, very hard. Alright, so they just surveilled both cards onto the top again. I could just Siege Worm right now, but the fact that they've been keeping all these cards means it's probably pretty likely they've got removal or they've got removal coming up. So let's just make a 4/4 Rhizome Lurcher and see if they use any removal on that to get that out of the way. Definitely nice to kill that Dimir Informant. Looks like nothing as of yet. Don't think I'm going to cast the Siege Worm. Probably a 3/2 Flash dude here. I mean, they've got 4 mana. It's Artful Takedown or the 3/2 Flash guy. Artful Takedown it is. Well, at least our Undergrowth is getting fueled. Dowser of Lights. Let's go ahead and just Strands that dude, and we've definitely got Siege Worm mana in the future. Actually, just send in the Death Toucher first. Alright. Thought it was pretty unlikely that they would take that trade, but, you know, just in case. Just in case. You never know. You really never know. Alright, so we need one more basic and we can just hardcast Siege Worm, don't even need the Poisoner. Oh my god. Thick cards the deck. Alright, Rhizome Lurcher. Guess I'm playing Rhizome Lurcher first. Bam! Large Lurcher. Here comes Notion Rain. Hopefully they're trying to dig into a removal spell, and this means that they don't have one quite yet. And if they don't have one for Lurcher yet, that means they don't have one for Siege Worm either. They are down to 11 as well. Dimir Spybug. Alright, not a removal spell. Let's get in there with the squad. We're trading 1/1s. And I can Deadly Visit that Dowser of Lights and force them to have removal or die. I kind of like just saving Deadly Visit, though. I guess the argument for Deadly Visiting, yeah, I probably should have Deadly Visited, because then I get that off the board, I get to set up my next 2 draws, and then I can just Siege Worm next turn without having to Deadly Visit. Alright, now I'm just going to Deadly Visit, because if I don't, then they can just double block and kill my Rhizome Lurcher at the cost of one of their 4/5s. Necrotic Wound is going to be fantastic off the top. But now I can't cast the Glowspore Shaman, because I don't want to get rid of my Necrotic Wound. Well, things are going pretty good. Rhizome Lurcher is starting to just eat their creatures. It cannot eat a Night Veil Predator, and I can't target that card, so that sucks a little bit. But I do have a Siege Worm to just cast here, so I will do so. And boop! That's exactly 5 if they don't play multiple creatures or destroy Siege Worm. We've got quite a good field. Wishcoin Crab. Dead Weight. Turn it into a 3/3. Alright. Okay. I'm going to save Necrotic Wound. Because with Okran Assassin, they are very dead on board next turn. And I can save Necrotic Wound in case something goes very wrong. So no attacks. Okran Assassin will force all of their creatures to block Okran Assassin, which will allow 6 damage to get through. And here's our -7/-7 and exile a creature for 1 mana. Which is pretty spicy. Oh my god. And we've got the 1 mana left? Oh, let's do it. Ooh! Is there a way I can make sure this is lethal? There's not, because if I target Siege Worm, they can destroy Siege Worm. If I target Okran Assassin, they can destroy Okran Assassin. Actually, no, if I target Okran Assassin... Well, Yeah, there's no way I can confirm that it's lethal. So I'll just target Oaken Assassin. Oh wow, that was awful. Kind of forgot Artful Takedown was a thing. But that's okay, we're still in a really good spot. I'm still not gonna Necrotic Wound the Crab for 3 damage. Because I have very lethal board right now. There's the scoop. And actually, it wouldn't have mattered even if I recognized that they had Artful Takedown, because my Siege Worm is a 3/3 right now and not a 5/5, so if I had targeted Siege Worm, they would just kill the Siege Worm and tap the other. Either way it went, it would have been the same thing. Alright, well, we got a win in there. See if I can get 3 more and live up to those 4/3 dreams and prophecies. Okay. Excuse me. Heading into Game 3. And this is a fancy hand. I mean, not really. The curve is terrible, but the cards look cool. So we'll do that. If we're against Boros, that could be terrifying. Boros is absolutely the best deck at demolishing you if your curve isn't good. We are against Izzet again, but it is an aggressive Izzet deck and not a controlling Izzet deck, most likely, as Beam Splitter Mage does benefit off casting pump spells on your creatures. Which means probably some aggro stuff. I'm going to go ahead and put that Guildgate on top. Next turn I can play Guildgate and Guildmage. Vidalcan Mesmerist, yeah, a very aggressive Izzet deck coming in here. This could be pretty bad. I guess since we have Necrotic Wound, do I want to just not Guildgate? Do I want to just wound Beam Splitter to make sure nothing terrifying happens? Yeah. I'm just going to do that right now. I don't want them to just, like, sure strike me into oblivion, so if I kill that right now, they can't get any value off of its ability, and I don't really have to worry. And I'm going to save Glowspore Shaman back, because even if they attack with Mesmerist and give Glowspore -2 power, it'll still trade with Mesmerist. Unless they Sure Strike, but Sure Striking my 3/1 is really not the end of the world, whereas it would have been if they had Beam Splitter on, because then it would have been double Sure Strike. Alright, so if I play Guildgate here, I'm not playing any creatures, and I kind of like playing a Rhizome Lurcher. I guess I'm trying to be on the defensive here a little bit. Guildgate does play better defensively, because then next turn I just play the big old 4/4 that gains some life, and save Lurcher for later in the game where it might be bigger. They have just played a bunch of like 2-mana 2/1s and Beam Splitter Mages and stuff, which means their deck's probably very aggressive, so if I just play in a way that maximizes how long this game is going to take, I'll probably win the long game, because I've got, you know, my long game cards in my hand. So we will play in a way that allows us to survive and play our biggest cards, and that is the plan. So now here's a 4/4. Or not, but that's alright. We got Disdainful Stroke out of the way, which makes Hatchery Spider more likely to resolve later this game. As well as Deadly Visit, just all of our 4-mana plus cards are more likely to resolve now. I can play Rhizome and use Guildmage's ability, so that's probably fine. Play a 5/5 Rhizome. Don't really want to Deadly Visit any of these little babies. Little 2/1s and 1/3s. Alright, so I mean, I guess their creatures are all aggro, is it? And then their spells are all control, is it? Weird deck. Gonna be pretty irritating to play against. Because Devious Cover-Up is fantastic, so if they picked up a bunch of Devious Cover-Up, this might be one of those games like if you're playing against a Clear the Mind deck in Ravnica Allegiance, where they just keep shuffling counterspells back into their deck indefinitely, to where all they ever draw is counterspells and you can't resolve anything, so let's hope that doesn't happen. Because that would suck. Maybe that was their plan all along. Pick up all of the really aggressive-looking creatures? Okay. I was definitely not going to block with Guildmage anyway. just pick up all of the really aggressive-looking creatures so that your opponent's like, oh, if this goes to a long game, I'll win. But then have the instance so that if it goes to a long game, you win. Maybe that's the plan. I like it. It's pretty sneaky. Get out there, Centipede. The fact that it stopped there makes me a little concerned about a counterspell, but I'm definitely just slamming down this Hatchery Spider the second I have mana. I can't really be playing around counterspells, because my only other option is to Deadly Visit a creature. So it's literally like, try to cast Hatchery Spider now, or sit here and wait forever and give them more chances to draw a counterspell if they don't have one already. Ooh, Burglar Rat is so good here. Come on, Burglar Rat. It's just gonna be a land. Invent. Alright. So they're gonna search for like an instant and then a poopy sorcery and discard the poopy sorcery. That way they can have double counterspell in hand or something like that. That could be the play here. I think I'm gonna attack with the Centipede this turn. Maximize velocity. So they're going to discard Maximize Velocity, keep Hypothesizzle in hand. Hypothesizzle can kill my Guild Mage, which sucks. Yeah, that is the suckage right there. I'm going to go ahead and attack with Centipede. Maybe get a trade here. If not, just poke him for a little bit of damage. However, they only have one card in hand I don't know about, and whatever they just drew this turn, so unless that one card was a counterspell, maybe they weren't holding up a counterspell. Maybe they were holding up Invert. Which means maybe... Oh my god! Yes, they tapped out. Basic land off the top. One time. Let's go. Basic land off the top. Also, they didn't kill my Swarm Guild Mage yet, so I get to sit here and gain some more life. Which is cute. I enjoy it. Basic land off the top. Hatch the spider. If this spider resolves... Izzet can't really do anything about that. If I cast it and they have mana up, they can absolutely counter it. But if it resolves and hits the board... Ooh! This is the best. This is the best. There's no green cards. Alright, whatever. At least I have, like, the biggest creature in the game. Not actually, but at least I have a really thick dude. Hypothesis on my Guild Mage. Goodbye, Guild Mage friend. I mean, I'm assuming. I have no idea what they're targeting quite yet. They don't target until they discard a card. Here it comes. There goes Guild Mage. Alright. So I probably want to kill that Watcher in the Mist, because I'm definitely going to block it any chance. Ooh, yes. Ooh, yes. Prey Upon was a sick draw. That lets me save that Deadly Visit. So that even if my Hatchery Spider dies, I have a way to kill their next threat. Not going to attack with Hatchery Spider there, though. That would do 4 damage to it. Piston Fist Cyclops. They do have 4, 5, 6, 7. They've got 7 damage over there on the blocker field. Do I want to Deadly Visit a Fist and Fist? Yeah. Then if they don't have Sure Strike, Spider can get in there. This might be another disinformation campaign. Or, Devious Cover-Up. Great! If there is one card... Wow, they only shuffled in 2? That seems weird. That seems weird. Alright. If there was any kind of card that I could just say, hey, Wizards, please do not print anything like this in Throne of Eldraine, it would be anything like Clear the Mind or Devious Cover-Up. They were really fun at first, but then if you play the format enough, you end up playing against Devious Cover-Up or Clear the Mind decks like 5,000 times. And it's the same. It's just one of the worst ways to lose. It feels so bad. Yeah, if they block with Piston Fist and Goblin, they kill Spider, so I guess I just don't attack. I mean, I can just send in Centipede. Should have just sent in Centipede, thrown the counter on Spider if they blocked it. Okran Assassin. Well, that's one way to get in. See what they do here. If they just don't block, then that's pretty spicy. Probably means they don't have any tricks for now. Could definitely have counter spells, which we'll see ourselves here. No counter on the Okran Assassin. Alright. They've probably got a way to kill that, then. If they don't, 9 damage guaranteed getting in. It does just immediately die to the Ordinary Goblin's trigger, but it does also make sure that all of the rest of the damage gets in, which is powerful. So if I attack now, that's 9 damage guaranteed. If this Dissident resolves and Okran Assassin doesn't die, then next turn it's lethal. Alright, next turn it's lethal. Sonic Assault, yeah, they're scared of it, for sure. I'm gonna send in the Centipede. Oh, we're gonna trade with the Goblin. Nice, okay, which means that Assassin doesn't even immediately die, it'll actually kill something if it gets blocked. I'm gonna go ahead and toss the counter onto Assassin then. I mean, they're definitely gonna Sonic Assault it next turn, but I feel like that is more of a powerful play than putting it anywhere else. Because now if it does survive long enough to have to be blocked, it kills 2 things. That is a wee Dragonauts. That is pretty scary. They've got 1 card in hand, probably saving it to discard to Sonic Assault. We have 3, 7, 8 mana. We've got enough to pump the Dissident once. That's basically a 4/4. So 4, 5, 6. So they have to Sonic Assault in order to kill Hatchery Spider, and if they do, they get to trade it for one of their creatures, because it only has 5 power, not 6. Okay. Perhaps should have put in that token onto Hatchery Spider. But, again, like, if Okran Assassin ever gets to attack, it's going to be real good. Send in Dissident, and it trades for Piston Fist and eats anything else. If they double block with Urchin and Wee Dragonauts, we get to kill Wee Dragonauts. So any block here lets us at least trade. And then no blocks obviously lets us get 4 damage in. Block with everyone. Don't want to kill Piston Fist over everything else. That makes it the most likely. They have no cards in hand. That makes it the most likely that they won't be able to kill Hatchery Spider next turn. But also they have no cards in hand, so they just have to immediately draw something to deal with Assassin anyway. In which case they'd be using something to deal with Assassin instead of anything to deal with Hatchery Spider. Alright. Well, this is fantastic. They can't attack here, or their creature just dies. And if they don't attack here, their creatures just die to Okran Assassin. So, yep, there's the scoop. I have no idea if that was played out correctly at all, but it definitely worked out. I was definitely getting more and more scared the longer that game went, because if you have multiple copies of Disinformation Campaign, you can literally get to the point where your deck is nothing but Disinformation Campaign. And I just did not want that scenario to happen at all. Granted, it was an Izzet deck and not a Dimir deck, so it was a lot less likely to happen. But, God, those games are just the worst. It's like when you play against somebody in Ravnica Allegiance and their deck is literally like 20 removal spells and 3 or 4 clear the mines. Just, oh, it sucks so bad. Because every time that you shuffle cards from your grave back into your library, you're making your library in general have a higher non-land to land count than your opponent's, which makes it more likely that you don't get mana flooded, that you draw actual cards while your opponent is just sitting there having the worst time. I'm going to send in the Dissident because trading things is fine for Golgari. We get to fuel our Undergrowth. And there's absolutely no way we're going to block during their turn, because during their turn it has first strike. So, Dissident is not doing anything on blocks. But on attacks, we can at least get a little bit of damage in. His hand is starting to look a little bit more rough than I previously anticipated. It's another hand with some strong cards, but a pretty bad curve. And the problem with that, obviously, is we could get paired against Boros, which would be bad. It would be bad indeed. I think I'm not going to attack this turn. Now I can chump block Fresh-Faced Recruit and then Necrotic Wound it, which feels super bad, but I have to make sure I survive. And if I survive, like, our late game's probably better than Boros's. So I'm just going to play just in 100% survival mode. And now if they just randomly have Tajik or something, then we can actually block it. Alright. Block your recruit. Now we can Necrotic Wound something. What else do you have? Hammer Dropper. Okay. That's pretty bad. Wound the recruit. Pitiless Gorgon. Well, there's our blocker for the Hammer Dropper, and then we'll Deadly Visit the Sky Knight Legionnaire. That is the reason I didn't Deadly Visit the Hammer Dropper. It's because we can block Hammer Dropper, we can't block Sky Knight Legionnaires. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, this is bad. I really hope they put a counter on the 4/4 one. Okay. That would have been so good. Alright, we're gonna take 7. Yeah, I mean, Boros is very good. Let's Deadly Visit the Legionnaire. Oh, Jesus. Thank goodness we surveilled. There was nothing that we would come back with there. We have got to pick up... I don't even know here. I think we're just dead. Oh yeah, we're dead. We're dead. This thing just taps our creatures or does 3 to us. Yep. Tremendously dead. We got Boros. That is the Boros plan. Just poop out a bunch of creatures as fast as possible and hope that you kill your opponent before they can cast cards. I think we should probably... You know what? I'm going to make a slight change to the deck here, actually. Based on what we've been playing, I think we do actually want to Hitchclaw Recluse, because Hitchclaw Recluse actually stops a lot of damage from Sky Knight Legionnaires and Wee Dragonauts and all of that nonsense that we have been getting pretty hammered by. So I do think we actually want to Hitchclaw Recluse. I'm not to the point where I want Crushing Canopy, but I do want the Hitchclaw Recluse. So I'm going to put him in there, and just take out some nonsense. This deck doesn't really have any nonsense, though. I guess we just take out a Spinal Centipede or a Generous Stray. Man, I really don't know. I like both of those. Take out the Centipede, I guess. Alright, 2 wins, 2 losses. If I want to hit that 4-3 goal, I'm going to have to win 2 more rounds here. I don't know how likely that is, but I will do my absolute best. Now we're going to play against the Selesnya deck with absolutely no flyers. Just get ready. Clark Loose just going to be bad. Let's keep 7. This hand has a better curve than the one that we just lost against Boros with Dimir. Alright, Hitchclaw Recluse might actually be active against this deck. We've got Poisoner turn 1. Opponent is about to play their turn 2 land. Forest. Alright, so there's Sultai, there are Golgari and Dimir. And a turn 2 Swarm Guildmage. We're going to go ahead and swing in with the Poisoner. I'm cool taking a little bit of damage here from this Guildmage if they want to send it in. Generous Stray. Alright, drawing a card. Send in for 2. Down to 18. And we will drop out our Generous Stray ourselves. Deadly Visit is a nice draw. Burglar Rats. Just discard a land. Iron Shell Beetle. Alright, opponent has a whole lot of little nonsense to fuel their undergrowth. If these things are going to start dying. These Rhizome Lurchers are pretty bad here, because we're both kind of sitting here with a bunch of little dorky creatures that probably aren't going to die. I don't really want to play it as a 2-2, but at the same time, I don't want to not play a creature this turn, because next turn if they hit a land, they get to give their whole field +1/+0 and Menace with that Guildmage, which is just real bad. But I suppose that's terrible, even if we have a 2-2 on the board. Yeah, whatever. Pass the turn. This game's not looking super hot. Nice, the tapped land. They can't give their field Menace now. Oh no! This card is just brutally good. Basically, you can play any deck with just a gigantic stack of just 1/1s and gates and win with Glaive of the Gate or Guild Pact. Because it just turns all of your just 1/1s into gigantic threats that have to be double blocked to die. So your opponent has to just 2-for-1 themselves forever to survive. So Glaive of the Guild Pact is a terrifying card. And that could make things really bad for us. I'm going to go ahead and kill the Guildmage with this Deadly Visit. As I've said before, the Glaive is going to make any of their creatures, even their little 1/1 Burglar Rats, pretty scary. I'm actually going to toss both of these in the grave to fuel our Undergrowth cards. So I don't think like a single targeted removal spell is going to help us a whole lot, so we'll just get rid of the scariest threat that's out right now. And there it goes. Here it begins. I mean, we could make our Undergrowth go crazy here if we just block this thing. Let's do it. Let's do it. We'll make the blocks. 3, 4, 5, 6. Not quite enough for Hatchery Spider yet, but we can play a Rhizome Lurcher as a 6/6 now. We won't be able to block whatever they throw the glaive on, but they only have 2 gates out right now, so that'll be 4 damage at most if they... Oh my god! If they toss it on Generous Stray. Necrotic Wound is a fantastic draw. We can Necrotic Wound whatever they choose to throw the glaives onto. If they put 1 on each, that'll be bad, but if they put both onto one of them, that's beautiful. Generous Stray, again, just more beautiful little glaive fodder. No land yet. So if they didn't draw land off of that Generous Stray, that's actually going to keep them from equipping this turn. Nice! Alright. No land yet. Now we get to play another Rhizome Lurcher and save up Necrotic Wound? Yeah. Send in the Rhizome! We are not going to block. Blocking is just really hard against glaives, so... I think we're on the attacking plan. Outrace the glaives with just natural 6/6s. District Guide, gonna pick up a 3rd gate. Make sure all those glaives give +3 Vigilance and Menace. However, I could see an argument for picking up a basic there, that way they can play Guide and equip a glaive on the same turn, but they did not do that, so things are going kind of slow for them now, which is very nice. Not exactly what you expect when the glaives are scaring you. We're going to send in the squad. Try to outrace this nonsense. Might work out. The start of this game, I was really worried I was about to just get glaive, but now we've got a Necrotic Wound to save us. And I'm just going to play Hatchery Spider and take a hit here. And we'll pick up a 1/4 Hitchclaw Recluse. And now we can double block whatever they glaive as well. If they throw both the glaives on it, though, it gets +6 power, so probably not going to double block in that scenario, because I don't really want to lose both my spiders, or just one of my spiders. There's the scoop! My stuff is too large for the glaive man. Glaives make for an interesting deck. They definitely do just make a deck where you just play a bunch of gates, District Guides, Circuitous Routes, and then just like the 3-mana 1/2s that draw cards, the 2-mana 1/1s that make your opponents discard. Just all these little creatures that give you incremental card advantage. And then by throwing glaives onto them and making them scary things that have to be blocked, you get even more card advantage by forcing your opponent to 2-for-1 themselves. So I have absolutely lost to glaive decks before, but we were just able to outrace them with some big stuff. They also were definitely stuck on mana for a while there. That was pretty rough. Not being able to equip both the glaives, being stuck on that 5 mana, and repeatedly just having to cast stuff like District Guide rather than equip glaives and get aggressive. This hand's pretty risky. I mean, we've only got 2 lands and a 2-drop we can play, but we do have a Prey Pawn that goes with it if they have something tiny, I guess. And a Gorgon after that. Like, this hand has high potential, but we really need to draw lands. I'm going to have to mulligan this one. And now we have lands, so I can keep this one and just get rid of a land. Get rid of a swamp, actually. Well, I'm actually going to get rid of a forest, because if we have double swamp, we have the mana ready for Deadly Visit, and the only thing we really need double green for that I can think of right now is a Siege Worm and our gigantic spider. And both of those cards are 7 mana, whereas Deadly Visit is 5 mana. So I need the second swamp for Deadly Visit sooner. And I can convoke one of the green mana for Siege Worm. However, we did draw the spider, so hopefully we get that forest before we hit 7 mana, but that is very, very likely. So we should be fine on that front. And our opponent had to discard a Hatchery Spider, so There's no hatchery spider versus hatchery spider nonsense going on this game, it looks like. Burglar Rat did some nice work there. Our 2-mana 1/1 traded for the 7-mana 5/7 reach, if you want to look at it that way. So they might be like stuck on 3 mana or something here, and that's why they had to just discard their giant spider. Next turn I have 6 mana towards Siege Worm. I don't want to have to discard my hatchery spider. Ooh, God. Oh, prey upon. Oh, they do have 4 mana. Another Burglar Rat. Wow, that's pretty bad. I just feel like if they discarded a hatchery spider, then if I keep mine, that just, like, ensures my late game can beat theirs. But I have to make it to the late game. But right now, that's not that hard. They have nothing but 1/1s. So, I'm gonna get rid of the Dissident. I only need 1 more mana to hit Siege Worm. Alright, there's the pass, and we've got the 1 more mana for Siege Worm. Probably gonna get removal spelled, but maybe not. Perhaps not. Perhaps no Deadly Visit. 1 time, please. Not my Siege friend to stay. What on earth is in their hand? They discarded a hatchery spider, and now they've just got 6 lands and are not playing anything? Did they actually just have, like, 4 hatchery spiders? I'm scared. I'm very scared. I'm gonna be honest here. Alright, we got a hit in with Siege Worm. I don't know what's happening, but currently I'm okay with it. There's another Generous Stray. Man, whenever they hit an Undergrowth card, they can just block this Siege Worm with 5,000 things and go to town. Necrolisk is very powerful with that many creatures on board. They can make that thing very large. It does only get Menace once, though, so we can just double block with Stray and Rat. If I swing in with Siege Worm, they can trade for a Necrolisk and a Stray, which is actually fine. I mean, when they have that many creatures on board, I'm definitely fine trading here for a Necrolisk with my Foragers, or for a Necrolisk and a Stray with my Siege Worm. So yeah, they absolutely have blocks that can kill our creatures here, but it would require them to kill their Necrolisk, which has a lot of food to eat right now. There's a Pelt Collector there. Pretty strong card. Probably not going to get that large this game, but if that Necrolisk dies, definitely will put a counter onto that. Alright, Necrolisk is going to go in for the big boy damage. If they kill one of our creatures here, we just can't block, but if they don't, gonna go for the double block here. Pretty big Rhizome Lurcher, putting a counter onto that Pelt Collector. I am gonna go ahead and double block here, and we're gonna go for a large Hatchery Spider turn next turn. 6/6 Rhizome Lurcher does block our stuff pretty well right now, so we're gonna have to find a way to kill that. Well, there you go. I mean, I suppose we'll just do that. Swing in. Stay aggressive. They're at 10 life here. Really fueling the Undergrowth now. They can double block Crawl Foragers with both, which is the probably safest defensive play. We can go ahead and kill the Pelt Collector, and 5 to their face. Alright, they are at 5 life. We've got a 5/5 Trample. They do have a 5/5 Necrolisk, though, so I could see them just saving that back to kill Siege Worm. I am at 21 life, so I would be mildly surprised if they attacked with Necrolisk. Alright, no attacks with Necrolisk. Gonna save that back, try to trade with the Siege Worm. Ooh. Actually, that is a spicy play that for some reason I didn't see. They can just sack another creature and make that bigger than the Siege Worm. Hit a Rhizome Lurcher off of the Hatchery Spider. That is one way to go. Alright. Okay. There's the scoop. Wow, that was a massive hit off of the Hatchery Spider. If we had not hit a Rhizome Lurcher to be larger than their creature, we would have had to wait a little while until we picked up a Prey Upon or Severed Strands or something to finish off that Necrolisc. And Prey Upon would have been pretty bad, because we would have had to send in with the Siege Worm and then sack another creature to kill it. So, hitting another Rhizome Lurcher was a fantastic draw off of the Hatchery Spider. Okay. So we're at 4 wins. So if we want to hit my goals and expectations for this deck, we can just lose this round, and then we did it. We're 4-3. But I will try not to just lose this round. I'm going to try to win as much as I can. Maybe I can beat my own expectations for this deck. Looks like another Golgari Mirror match, so that's going to be a scary one. They are on the play too, which is a pretty big advantage. I'm not pretty big. It is a little bit of an advantage, I should say. Don't wanna... Oh, no! No! Hatchery Spider. Why? I'm going to decline to put a land on top here. We've got plenty. We have enough lands to play everything in our hand, so I don't really want to mana flood myself with my Glow Spore Shaman. Alright, Iron Shell Beetle. Ooh, make that Glow Spore a 4-2. Pretty scary. At least I have a 3-1 to block that thing. Would have been nice to hit one more creature to make sure that this Necrotic Wound could do -2/-2, because as it stands, their Glow Spore could do some scary stuff if they clear my field. So here comes Hitchclaw, which, even though we're not playing against any flyers, and probably won't be, is still good on this board. I mean, it stops X1s. Like, if Glow Spore Shaman were still a 3-1, Hitchclaw Recluse would be fantastic here. So they've obviously got some kind of trick, but we'll see what happens. Maybe they're just trying to fuel a Rhizome Lurcher. They are just trying to fuel a Rhizome Lurcher. That is cool with me. I'm just going to fuel my own Rhizome Lurcher by killing theirs and gaining 4. Don't want to deal with that monstrosity on their board there. Another Rhizome Lurcher would be pretty good. Crawl Foragers, gain a bunch of life. Alright. Well, my Rhizome Lurchers will be very slightly bigger than that, so I will have the board superiority. Ooh, Prey Upon. Absolute perfect draw there. We are exactly big enough to prey upon that and survive. Perfect draw. We just gotta hope they don't have a larger creature or a removal spell, and we might be able to start bashing them down from that 25 life. And so far, their creature is smaller. So, we're in a good spot here. We've got the mild advantage. And I say mild advantage because all it takes to turn the advantage around is a single removal spell. Or a single creature if they get another Rhizome Lurcher. Sending in the Dowser, not going to block that thing. I could block and -3/-3 it to kill it, but I do want to save this wound in case something worse happens like that. And now I'm super glad I saved this wound to get that Ochre Assassin out of here. I am not playing around with that nonsense. We are going to let our Rhizome Lurcher survive, regardless of what you want to do to it. So just attacking with the Guild Mage there rather than gaining life, since I am on the aggressive here. I want to get them as low as possible. Vigor Spore Worm turns that right around. We're going to take a lot of damage here. 10 puts us down to 10, and now we're on the defensive. So that is what I was saying earlier. All it takes is one card to swap this right around. And lands are definitely not the kind of cards that are going to swap it right around. However, we can trade with the Vigor Spore Worm at least, but then Dowser just gets to keep getting in there. This is very, very bad. Alright, well, here's the block. What else do you have? Sprouting Renewal for a 2/2. And let's gain some life. Hired Poisoner stops the Dowser Blights from getting in, however that 2/2 is going to keep poking us for a bit here. Generous Stray, pretty good draw for them. They get to drop a 1-2 onto this board, which can attack me for some damage without having to really worry about trading with Hired Poisoner. And they get to just draw another card, so it's like they just pooped a 1-2 onto the board without losing any cards. So, Guildmage can just gain the 2 life that I'm losing every turn here. Veiled Shade is a problem. Let's gain 2. Rhizome Lurcher, that is what we're looking for. Just a big creature like that. That's going to be a 6-6 on this board. That Veiled Shade can turn into a 4-4 right now. So now we're fine. I think we've reached a stalemate here. The Menace ability from the Guildmage isn't really going to solve anything for us here because they can just double block with Dowser and Veiled Shade and I can only kill one of them. So we're definitely in a stalemate unless they've just drawn something else good. Like a removal spell for a Rhizome Lurcher. Hopefully we can start drawing pretty well here, because I believe that we've drawn... we've definitely drawn more lands than our opponent, so hopefully they'll just start hitting like a land sack here. Apparently they drew some kind of really good pump spell, and we might just die right now. This could be Bounty of Might to give +9/+9, which would be exact lethal the way we're currently blocking. Well, this is just the worst, but I'm going to play it as safe as possible and lose my Guildmage. I mean, this isn't even playing it safe, because if they have Bounty of Might, we're just... You cannot beat Bounty of Might. Because here's the thing. If I blocked it, I knew they had Bounty of Might. And if I blocked in a way where I would die this turn, then cool, I just die this turn and it's over. But if I blocked in a way to survive this turn, I have to get 3 for 1. Because my Guildmage is dead, my Rhizome Lurcher is dead, these are not dead. And they still get to give +3/+3 to Generous Stray for extra damage to me. So, that's just the worst feeling. Like, it actually just doesn't matter if they have Bounty of Might, I guess is what I should have realized. And just let them kill me so I don't have to feel that way, because that sucked. But we did still block the best way we could, because now we survived and now have a 4-4, so at least they can only attack with Dowser of Lights, unless they draw Mono Gas. The salt is rising to the top here. We have drawn... We've seen 9 lands. They have seen 6. Wonderful. Alright, well, we could still be in it. We could still be in it. Jesus H. Christ! Could you stop, please? Assassin's Trophy? The literal Assassin's Trophy? Oh my god. Well, we're at 3. 3 is not 0. Oh, come on. Well, we did the best we could. We could have died like 3 turns ago, but we decided to survive the Bounty of Might. I don't know why I did that. Should not have done that. It just makes everything feel worse. Because now we're going to die to a 1-2 and a 2-2, because we can't block everything. Wow. That was a sad way to end it. That was brutal. Just a brutal last few draws there. I played in a way to survive the Bounty of Might and managed to draw into ways to survive further turns if they hadn't just literally went draw removal spell. Like, Jesus. Alright. Well, we definitely tried our hardest, and this is exactly what I prophesied. That's a word. I said 4-3. This deck is a 4-3 deck, and you know what? This deck was a 4-3 deck. We had one good Bomb in our Hatchery Spider, and we had several good little Rhizome Lurches with a lot of nice Undergrowth synergies to make sure those things would be large in the late game. We had a decent deck, which looks like a 4-3 style deck. We did not have a 7-3 style deck like the deck that we just lost to, which had basically everything going for it that our deck did, but also had multiple bombs. They had Bounty of Might, they had more removal than enough, Assassin's Trophy, and Deadly Might. So we basically played against the mirror match, but just slightly better, and got slammed. So, wish our deck could have been that good, but alas, we did not quite make it farther than 4-3. But 4-3 is still larger than the average record. The average record obviously being 3 wins and 3 losses, exact even. Let's see what's in our extra bonus pack, Disinformation Campaign, fantastic draft card. Why? Why is this program so good at the rubbins? I feel like this happens way too often. 75% of the time that I just get destroyed, I immediately open one of the cards that I got demolished by. This happened with M20 all of the time, where I would get slammed by Sephara, and then at the end of the video, I open the pack, and what is it? Oh, Sephara. Whatever. The levels of salt are ridiculous. I appreciate you all for watching so much. If you've watched all the way to the end of this video, you might consider subscribing so that the thingy-mabob tells you that there's more videos, because I do make videos pretty often. Probably 3-4 times a week. Anyways, that is going to end it for that draft. And I'll see you all again soon for some more Magic Arena stuff. Probably some kind of random arena event if they put another one of those on. Maybe a little bit of Standard 2020. I really am not a fan of Standard, so don't be surprised if that doesn't happen. I have no idea what's coming next, if I'm completely honest, but I will have more content soon. And obviously, whenever Throne of Eldraine hits, expect many, many, many drafts and maybe some sealed of that set. So, again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.